The lady further goes on to say that I wish you the best on your psychology experiment. She gives me a smiley. YouTube has a huge amount of info on the subject unless you've already checked them out. Well, of course I have. In fact, the presentation was actually placed on YouTube. I've seen just about all of them, and that's why I think it's a real bad idea to have more than one wife. Well, it's too bad, but that's her assessment. I've seen just about all of them myself, and funny, I came up with a different conclusion. Anyway, she writes, I myself have never been interested in that sort of thing, but I do consider myself nosy and just wanted to see what the fuss was all about. Yes, because there is a fuss. It is starting to surface. It is, people are really looking at this as an alternative approach to, well, I can't say standardized marriage, because what is standardized marriage these days? Marriage by writ of contract? I don't know. Anyway, I answered, I've studied it since 2002. I wrote a book on this subject that I never published yet. Admittedly, there are very few groups online that do the subject justice, and the few that exist often get shut down because of the social stigma associated with it. I was a member of one such group here on Facebook. It was headed by the author of the Polygamous Papers. Oh, I really recommend you read the Polygamous Papers. Very informative. Not very long. I can't remember. Maybe it might even be only 38 pages or something. I actually bought a copy. It's so full of facts about polygamy. I mean, it just cuts to the chase, basically. It's just some papers written about polygamy, and really addresses, polygamy properly practiced in cultures throughout the world. And quite an eye-opener, I might add. Very good book. I believe the pen name of the author is Hondo Solomon. Anyway, I digress here. I just want to continue with the reading here, that my responses. I think it's a good thing to investigate matters touching family and marriage, and I think more people should really look into as many venues pertaining to marriage as possible before even deciding to marry at all. Marriage can be a high-risk business and nothing to be trifled with. And then I typed in a correction. I write, correction, marriage is a high-risk business and nothing to be trifled with. It is. Folks, marriage is a risk. If it isn't a gamble, it's a risk. You are, pledging to one another that you will be committed to one another until one of you dies. And that's real marriage, by the way. That's the commitment part of marriage. It's not the act of marriage, though. It's the commitment, And those vows can hold water, or they can be just so much sunshine blowing in the wrong direction. Okay, so the lady replies with, that's because kids aren't being taught marriage. They're being taught to carry condoms, and that sex before marriage is okay. They're being taught to have doofers, do for the night. Our system really stinks. All that I agree on. But I don't believe that that's the cause of why marriage is so mishandled. I'll get into that later. That's why I teach my children to be married before sex. You see, that's exactly where the confusion sets in. But anyway, I'll go on, and a few other things as well, but we won't bring religion into the conversation. Right. Anyway, it is proven to be the best thing ever for my children. You study psychology. You know that sex with multiple partners, there's that multiple partners line, sets up a false sense of pleasure. I think she meant sense, but she wrote sense of pleasure. So why have something false when you can have the best just by making the woman number one in your life, and vice versa? Obviously, she isn't aware of the fact that I've been there, done that, gone that whole route, and I've transcended it. Anyway, she asks this question probably rhetorically. Um, you keep the woman on the back burner and have other dishes, then she's no longer the main course, and before you know it, she's simmered, burned, and you just got served some burnt biscuits, my friend. LOL. Sorry, that was kind of funny. LOL. Actually, no, it isn't. It's not funny. It's sad. And so many women these days are burned really badly. And, one needn't blame plural marriage on that. I really doubt that plural marriage is the chief element in that regard. So many women are put on the back burner regardless, and it's sad that so many women are treated that way. It's sad that so many men are treated that way. It's sad that process largely and predominantly occurs in monogamous marriages, not polygamy. But anyway, I respond with, that view certainly exists. There are better views, in my opinion. The problem with progeny failing to understand the importance, significance, and value of marriage did not suddenly manifest in one single generation. You see, this is a process, people. It's a conditioning that takes place from generation to generation, and we are living with the after effects. It's like shell shock. This wave has spread out over the generations since World War I. We're still not over it. Anyway, in fact, I suspect it is very difficult, I write, to get a grip on the concept of marriage until one can fully appreciate it for what it is. Sex, because she mentioned sex before marriage, sex is a very short word that covers a vast number of subjects. Sex before marriage can be something as easy as kissing on your first date once one understands what sex actually is. People really don't understand sex. They think, well, sex, they like to equate that with the act of sexual intercourse as in coitus. No, coitus is just one small aspect of sex. Sex is big. Sex is really big, people, okay? When a boyfriend and a girlfriend kiss, guess what, folks? Guard your virgin ears. They get sexually aroused. There you go. They just had sex. They aroused one another. They engaged in some form of intercourse where they aroused one another sexually. They had sex. They kissed. There you go. All right. But I go on to write that sex before marriage can be something as easy as kissing on your first date, once one understands what sex actually is. And there's some really good books out there that actually explain what sex actually is. It's not just the act of coitus. Okay, consummation, copulation, conjugation, procreation, on the other hand, involves the act of marriage. And this very act of marriage occurs every time a man and a woman join to become one flesh. Now, do you see why I say there's thousands of women out there that would marry me, but, whether that marriage be honorable or not is another matter, right? Okay. That is the hard truth, I write, that most people find too difficult to swallow. And the reason for this is because they must then admit in good conscience that they are indeed accountable and responsible for their actions. Their actions, okay? Past, present, and future, I write. So-called casual sex isn't casual. Rings and vows and paper writ do not a marriage make. Sex is intimate, not casual. Casual sex is one of the most horrendous oxymorons ever fabricated in this generation. I really believe that, by the way. And I conclude with, this generation has a great many actors, people acting married and committing the act, but few are for real. Few are fully committed to the act, state, and condition of marriage. As a result, the institution continues to decay and fall into oblivion. She never responded to me after that. I guess she realized, I'm guessing that she realized that she got in deep and wanted to back out. And yeah, that's it. When people start to get the feel of my metal, they turn heel and run. I tend to cut to the chase. I don't mess around. I don't pussyfoot around when it comes to marriage. I'm very direct, and I'm very protective of the institution of marriage, and calling a spade a spade. So I continue with, as someone who can honestly state that they have had sex with, in quotation marks, and married according to the truest definition of the verb to marry, that is, to copulate, conjugate, consummate, with at least 24 women, certainly more, I'm being conservative, I wrote, I can attest that there was no false sense of pleasure involved in any of those unions. The act was pleasant every time. The aftermath varied. Nonetheless, they were all acts of marriage. I've had the best too. And I've had the best, in quotation marks, because she called it the best, with several, each act being different in its own special way. The great thing about a loyal co-wife is that those proverbial biscuits never get burned. Usually there's always someone there to tend to them before the alarm sounds. This is not always the case in so-called monogamous marriages. And it's true, okay? I've seen it and witnessed it and watched polygamous families. I know of polygamous families. I'm not going to name any names. But the sister wives, or the co-wives, or whatever you wish to call them, they look out for each other. And the husband has really got to mind his P's and Q's, okay? And they make sure that there's fairness in the home. If they feel that there is not equity, he's often the very first to hear about it. Women really miss the point about polygamy. Polygamy is more for the woman than it is for the man in that regard. Because, first of all, they've got the majority working for them. They've got democracy on their side. They've got the children that they give birth to. And, these women are together. They're together in this. That they are a team. And they discuss things betwixt one another and make sure that the standard of decency in the home is kept, and that nobody's getting jilted, nobody's getting burned. People really have the wrong idea about biblical polygamy. Now, I don't know about the other forms out there that where a man just basically buys a bunch of concubines and services as concubines. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, actual wives. Okay, anyway, and so there was no comment after that, so I go, oh man, now I feel like a whore. Why? Well, because here I am, saying I'm a man who has actually conjugated with more than 24 women. Well, that's the truth. I have. And the truth is that I have actually conjugated with more than 36 women. And, if I were to able to go back in time knowing what I know now, it wouldn't even be a dozen. But knowing what I know now, I probably would have seen to it that every woman that I hooked up with understood that she was not going to be my one and only. You see, this is the thing. Biblically speaking, a man can never call his wife his one and only. If he does that, he turns his back on God. Because the Lord Jesus is supposed to be the one and only of any biblical believer. Okay? He is supposed to be that man's one and only. He is supposed to adore, fall on his knees, and worship God. Okay, not his wife. And his one and only is his Lord and King. And he should not be jealous over his Lord if he sees that his Lord has favored, another. He should rejoice, actually, that another is in the kingdom. He should be very pleased that he's part. Another one has entered the family, and yes, his one and only should be the King of Kings. A woman should never be a man's one and only, and I mean that. He should never ever have eyes for her only. This is a great vanity under the sun. And unfortunately, woman worship, this is a spirit of Jezebel that is sweeping our nation right now, is gone full blown. It's gone viral. And it doesn't last long, because most men eventually discover that they've been hoodwinked, or they've been blinded. And this is not true love. This is not true love. Women are just as human as any other human being, and they are not to be worshipped. I don't say there's anything wrong with adoring your wife. Okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with a man having affection for her, or for I don't really believe that there's anything wrong with even marveling at your wife, marveling at her beauty, or marveling at her brilliance, her charm, her personality, her style, or anything like that. But don't fall on your knees before her begging you to marry you, or don't fall on your face before her. Don't, please be a man, please. Don't worship her. See, this is the thing. We should be worshiping God. Now, a woman is built with the capacity to love her Lord in the Lord. And guess who her Lord is? In the Lord. I know most women miss it. It's sad. But, the Bible says straightforward that wives are supposed to regard their husbands even as unto the Lord. They are supposed to regard their husbands, their headship, as though they were doing it unto the Lord. They are supposed to love. Now, God has granted the woman the capacity to love her Lord in the Lord. All right? And that's also why she don't need two men. She's got two men. If she's a blood-bought, born-again believer, she's got her Lord, and she's got her Lord. And she don't like that, well, she's going to have to, I guess, rewrite the Bible, because the man is the head of the woman. And I'm not just going to waste any time on that. It's just ridiculous. And if she understood what the benefits of that really are in a good biblical family, she'd be running to be calling her husband Lord, even as Sarah called her husband Lord, because she would understand what sort of power she would actually gain in so doing. But Most women miss the boat. You know, the first time a woman started calling me her Lord, I felt sheepish. I felt giddy. I felt weird. I wasn't used to it. I didn't know, I didn't know what to do. I'd never been called that before. And, it took me some time to adjust, but I'll tell you something. It puts a man on the spot because now he's got to measure up. She just called him Lord. Now he's got to act like a gentleman. Now he's got to be, something because she just called him Lord. Now, it's not easy to measure up to that, to be a Lord. You see what I'm saying? If women really understood the psychology behind this, they wouldn't hesitate at calling their husbands Lord. They'd be it's so funny. You hear how these women want to be treated like queens. Yeah, but they want to treat their men like dirt. It's totally acceptable in North American society to call a woman a lady. Long pause here. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's not a problem to call a woman a lady. It's acceptable. It's okay. But call a man Lord. Oh, well, I ain't going to call him that. You see? This is that Jezebel spirit talking to the hearts of our women. I'm not going to call him Lord. But he can call you lady, right? There's something funny about that. I don't think women want equality. I think women want to lord it over men. That's what I think. Unfortunately. And without God, they can't help it because it's in their fleshly nature to covet the things that pertain to a man. Anyway, there it is. I have a whole lot more to say about this, but I really do commend this lady who stepped forth and gave me her view on polygamy, although she never really did state whether or not she would actually get involved or marry a man who looked like me. I have some good news for those ladies that shudder at the thought. There aren't many men who look like me. I have very unique features. I'm a very unique sort of person. So don't worry, ladies out there aren't many men who look like me. And I'm just very unique looking. It's not a matter of ugly or good looking. I'm just very unique looking. I have a lot of character built into my face, my features, and a lot of angles in my face. So, yeah. But part of why I did this is because, again, my beloved young wife wants a co-wife. And, okay, maybe I've been lazy. But I don't really want the devil to catch me looking either, And just because someone can do something doesn't necessarily mean they ought to do it. But I have no qualms about marrying a woman if she's decent and she has a true regard for what is written in the Holy Bible, that she agrees to follow that book in the belief that every word between those lids is the truth, and that she believes in loyalty, fealty, and regards me as her head, and doesn't have a problem with calling me Lord. I like that now. I like being called Lord because I just want to call her lady so much after that. I like being called Lord because it really puts me on the spot. Makes me reassess my situation and am I doing enough? To be worthy of the title. It really puts me on the spot. I like that. I like it. I know it sounds almost masochistic, but I like being put on the spot like that because it really makes me look at myself. And if she is actually lady enough to call me Lord, then I had better mind my P's and Q's and treat her right. Anyway, I have no qualms about this. I am very protective of my family, and I would not want to inadvertently embrace a whore. And I'm really sorry. When I wrote that line, I said, now I feel like a whore. Because I understand how people, when they read this, boy, this guy, what a dog. He's been with over 24 women. If I could go back in the past and change that, I would. Praise be to God. Things I used to do, I do no more. When I met the wife of my youth, I didn't philander or anything. When I finally met a woman who treated me like a man and treated me correctly. I did not cheat on her, did not fool around on her behind her back. I stayed monogamous. And so that's what I mean when I say, no, I've done the one and only thing. I understand that game, okay? But there was a lot missing. And there were problems, all right, as a result of us both only being human. And I saw how I could further my family if I actually did opt for the polygamy solution. And I was hoping that the wife of my youth would be supportive and trusted me enough to know that I would never, never, never throw away my love for her, cast it to the wind. And I really believe that. And ladies, I don't know if you're ever going to get this. It's such an irony. But if you can honestly and truthfully trust your husband that much to actually be with another woman, not for an affair, not for a fling, not for that, but actual, commitment to a co-wife, I guarantee you, if he's any kind of gentleman, he will guard you, he will value you beyond belief. I know how I felt when I learned my new wife's policies regarding marriage. She is so precious to me. I wouldn't give her up for anything. Are you joking? I have a wife that actually has already endorsed, given me her blessing and consent to take another wife. What man in his right mind wants to get rid of a woman like that? I never. And she is so good to me. I'm so blessed, and that's really it. Is I don't really want to jeopardize that by embracing, inadvertently embracing some woman who might have ulterior motives. I'm very concerned about that, because I will not let someone come between me and my woman. I let somebody do that once. I did do that once. I let another woman come between me and my woman. And I think that's why the wife of my youth is not with me anymore. There are women who take great pleasure in busting up marriages, especially marriages that have been tried and tested and proven, marriages that have lasted decades. Men, be aware of this. There are women who want to wreck your marriage. You're all worried about the guy who's going to try to steal your wife. No, that's not what you should be worried about. Odds are that, of your marriage being destroyed by another woman are far greater than your marriage being destroyed by another man. And on that note, I'll leave you to meditate on that wisdom. Understand that there is a force, a spirit, working on our women in North America. It's the Jezebel spirit. It's been around for a while. The old pastors know about it. And, when that silver-tongued devil starts speaking out of the mouth of some rebellious woman into your wife's ears, you'd better get ready. You better get ready to protect your family, because it means your home's under attack, your household's under attack. Okay, that Jezebel will reach your wife's ears a whole lot faster than any man will. Guard yourself, guard your home, guard your family. So there it is. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to me. This is another one of my non-video audio presentations.